In this video, we'll be looking at loops. Now, loops allow us to execute a block of code as long as a specified condition is true. Here we can see the syntax for a while loop. We have our while keyword. In our parentheses, we have our condition. And within our curly braces, we will put our code that is to be executed. So first, I'll define an iterator, I, and set it equal to 0. Next, we're going to define our while loop. So as I said before, we use our while keyword and we put our condition within our parentheses. In this case, as long as I, which is equal to 0, is less than 10, we are simply going to print something to the console. And what I'm going to print is just the value of I. And then we're going to concat I to the end of this print statement. And there's one additional thing that we need to do. We need to increment our iterator. So we have to put I plus plus at the end of this print statement, so that each time the loop goes around, it will add 1 to our iterator. All right, so now let's run our program. And we see that the value of I started off at 0 and incremented by 1 until our condition was met, which is I less than 10. So that's why it stopped at 9, seeing that 9 is less than 10. Now we're going to modify this while loop a little bit. So what I'll do, I'll change the value of I and set it equal to 10. And then I'll change my condition and I'll say while I is not equal to 0, I am going to print the value of I. And I'm going to decrement this time instead of incrementing. So let me modify that to a minus minus operator. And now when we run our program, we see that I started off at 10 and decremented all the way down to 1. Now I can decrement by any value that I choose. So I can modify this minus minus and I can set it to I minus equals 2. So in this case, the loop will minus 2 each time it goes through an iteration. So we start off at 10 and decrement by 2 until our condition is met. Now we're going to take a look at the do while loop. And the difference with the do while loop is we will first have our condition to be executed and then we are going to check our condition. So similarly to our while loop, I'm going to define an iterator, I, and set it equal to 0. And the first block will be our do block. So we use our do keyword and open up our parentheses. So I'm going to print the value of I and then increment I by 1. And then I will need my condition. So I'll need the while keyword and my parentheses. And inside my parentheses, I'll just set the condition while I is less than 15. And then we close off with a semicolon. So now let's run this program. And we'll see that it counts all the way from 0 to 14. Because 14 is indeed less than 15. So that's our do while loop. Next, we'll look at the for loop. So the for loop is a little bit different, where we will define all our conditions all at once inside our parentheses, and then we will open up our curly braces, which will contain our code block to be executed. So the syntax for this is our for keyword. Then we open up our parentheses, we declare an integer I, which is our iterator, set it equal to 0, and then we separate each statement using a semicolon. So we have I less than or equal to 10, and then we're going to increment by 1, thus the I plus plus. Inside our code block, we're just going to print the value of I and then concat our iterator to this print statement. And now our for loop is ready. So let's run our program. And we see that I started off at a value of 0 and it went all the way up to 10, seeing that our condition was I less than or equal to 10. That's why the 10 was printed in this case. I'm going to define a second for loop, and I'm going to set our iterator equal to 2. Our condition will be I less than or equal to 20, and our final condition will be I plus equals 3. So inside this code block, I'm just going to simply print the value of I, and based on our new conditions, we'll see how the for loop goes about executing the conditions. So you really can set any kind of condition that you need to within your parentheses, and it will execute just as you have put it. So here we see that our for loop increments by 3.